Yes, good afternoon, good evening. This is Harlem Network News, and I am Terri Wisdom. And we are a media platform. We started at the onset of COVID, and we are still here. We consider ourselves an essential service, just trying to be the voice and drumbeat of Harlem, making sure that people are informed, engaged, and called to action. We have a lot going on up here, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that the community is informed. We have turned out. We salute our, new ancestor, Lloyd Williams. The community stood firm with that. We salute Vosa Rivers, who lost his wife and life partner. So there's a lot going on, but we've got to stand firm. I have with us the chair of Community Board 10, and that is in the person of Marquis Harrison. And we're just going to get straight to it. You know that we have what I consider a crisis happening up here in Harlem, a state of crisis, emergency state here in Harlem. And that is with the Legionnaires disease that's happening. I believe approximately 110 people have contracted it. 6 people have died. There's still some people that are in the hospital, and it has lasting effects, and it's preventable. So without further ado, Marquise, if you could elaborate on that and just share who you are, whose you are, and what Community Board 10 is doing about this Legionnaire situation. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, first of all, for what you do for our community. It's very important to have this platform, and I'm glad that you're helping inform our community as much as you can about just the things that are going on in Harlem and how it impacts us. So Community Board 10 had, we learned almost a month ago now about this Legionnaires cluster that is impacting not just Central, but West and East Harlem as well. I just want to start off by saying we have lost 6 of our neighbors, and our condolences go to their families because
Absolutely.
this is something that's heartbreaking, but also preventable. And we're back in a place that we've been not just once, not just twice, but a few times. And particularly the Legionnaires disease continues to impact, particularly communities of color for some reason, where these cooling towers where this Legionnaire bacteria are found all over the city, but yet has continued to plague Harlem and the South Bronx. It seems like, and we're deeply concerned about that at the community board. So, just to give some background, in 2021, then under the leadership of Chair Cicely Harris and the late and great Dr. Hazel Dukes, who's the chair of the health committee, Community Board 10 led an effort then calling for changes to how the health department inspects and deals with these cooling towers in our community. Cooling towers at that time were only being inspected every 3 months, or supposed to be expected every 3 months. We called for it to be monthly. We asked for instead of the towers to be cleaned 2 times a year, we called for it to be 4 times a year. And then we recommended that buildings in our community be made mandated to have a filtration system so the Legionnaire bacteria wouldn't get out. Needless to say, we don't know the status of those implementations of those things that we called for, but we also know that the Department of Health has also had admitted that some of these buildings were not being even fully inspected on a regular basis. So it seems like they were getting less inspections recently. And now we have, like you said, over 110 cases, and we have 6 people whose lives have been lost. This is unacceptable at every rate. And we are deeply disappointed. Right now, yet on Friday, we had a press conference, which we called for an update as to the implementation of the recommendations we made in 2021. 2, we also called for an independent investigation because some of the city, because this continues to plague our community, and some of these buildings are city-owned buildings, and so there might be a conflict of interest with the city of New York leading these investigations, so that we really uncover why this continues to happen, and what needs to change. We are demanding accountability right now, because and a little bit more transparency, to be honest. The health department was very slow to even releasing the buildings that were where the towers were infected. We had
Yes.
called for that initially, when they first chose the cluster. That's what everyone who was following this issue, neighbors wanted to know, well, which buildings, and at least they could then maybe monitor where they're going, and kind of, just monitor themselves. The health department only released that maybe about a week ago. And
Absolutely.
it's bizarre. And we just don't understand why. When asked last week, when they did release that information, and when asked, why are they releasing it now, their response was, "Oh, because the community called for it. We had been calling it for weeks." So I don't know what's, I'm not alluding to that there's some type of cover up or anything like that, but what I am concerned about is the slow addressing of this issue. Initially, I'll be honest, I sat in the health department briefing. I actually didn't think that this was going to be something that spread, right? That was before there was any deaths. The
Mm,
way they kind of made it seem like was, we had a little exposure, but we've got this under control. And then to learn now, weeks later, we have 6 deaths, 6 of our
right.
neighbors' lives that we can't bring back, is
Right.
devastating, and just unacceptable at every rate.
Yeah, thank you, Marquise. And I think that you're correct. It's about transparency. I know that I sat in a virtual meeting that Senator Cordell Clear
Hmm.
called. I think we were
Yes.
all there. The
Hmm.
community board was a part of it.
Yes.
There were, over 100 people that were on this virtual meeting.
Yeah.
And Senator Cordell Clear pushed it. She asked every way you could ask, what are the buildings? What is the impact? Panel members that were allowed to speak on a Zoom because it was a webinar asked
Hmm.
that question, and that question did not get directly answered. And like you said, it was really only about a week ago that the buildings that were impacted, the addresses were revealed. And I'm gonna just run down these addresses because I have them, because I
Uh-huh.
think that people are deserving to know that. Okay,
Yes.
so 2239 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, 215 West 125th Street, 301 West 124th Street, 181 Convent Avenue, 317 Lenox Avenue, 40 West 137th Street, 2238 Fifth Avenue, 506 Lenox Avenue, 133 Morningside Avenue, 100 West 125th Street had 3 towers on it. And when we say 3 towers, those are the towers that are catching the water. So I
Hmm.
think it was like, something like 10 buildings, but one of the buildings had 3 towers. We know that transparency, this is Harlem Network News, and I'm here with the chair of the Community Board 10. Harlem Hospital was one of the buildings. Harlem
Hmm.
Hospital, the sex clinic, was another one of the buildings.
Hmm.
I believe that whatever the address is on 124th Street, that encapsulates the Whole Foods
Yeah.
mall. So another is one of the city college buildings, the science
Yes.
building. So it's kind of like everywhere you go, if you're in your house, or if you had to go to the hospital, or if you went to do some shopping, or if you were going to school, you could have been impacted. So I think it's very critical that in a health crisis, that we know exactly what's happening. That's how lives can be lost. The situation is preventable, and
Hmm.
this is what we are dealing with. We already experienced COVID, and
Yes.
honestly, that's how Harlem Network News, though it was in the planning, that's why we started, because people in the community did not know what was happening, and they
Hmm.
were thinking Black people can't get COVID. Why? Because they didn't see their self on television. They didn't see themselves out at Elmhurst Hospital. And that's how the body bags started coming. So
Yeah.
it's very critical. And I'm just very glad that our community is standing up. And there's got to be serious accountability from all of our public officials that represent the people. So thank you,
No,
Chair
absolutely.
Board 10, for coming on and, dealing with this issue.
No,
Yes.
absolutely. And like you said, and what's been really alarming is that a number of the locations are health care facilities, right?
Mm.
Even 215 West 125th Street it's a multifaceted building where there is Lenox Hill Radiology there, and also
Wow.
Advantage Care, which is a
Wow.
primary site for people who see their physicians. So
Wow.
people going into their doctors and then being exposed possibly to this bacteria and weren't being told anything about it again. And we don't even know again what are like they haven't released the reports of when these buildings were being inspected, how often, how frequently, what measures do they have. So there are a lot of questions that we do have. We have called for also, and we are in the work next week on the September 3rd at our general board meeting. We are hoping to have the commissioner Morse in on site to answer some questions and to share with us some information. And to be honest, we have been working with the health department trying to get as much information from them. And to their credit, the acting commissioner was not necessarily the person who's responsible at, she's just kind of stepped into this role. And now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, she has to deal with these questions
She's
and
the point person.
she's the point person. And so while we want to hold the health department accountable, we know we're not looking to blame her. But we certainly are hoping that we can work with her to really assure that this doesn't happen again. We cannot be back here next year or 2 years from now with the
Right.
same crisis, right?
It's
It just
about,
doesn't make
yeah.
sense.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News. And I'm here with Marquis Harrison, who is the chair of Community Board 10, which really encompasses Central Harlem, and a majority of the zip codes and buildings are in Community Board 10. And I know, Marquis, that you did write a very strong letter to the acting health commissioner, Dr. Michelle Morse, and
Mhm.
we appreciate that greatly. And you also CC'd that letter and request to Mayor Eric Adams, the public advocate Jamani Williams, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, City Council member Dr. Youssef Salam, Assembly member Jordan Wright, Assembly member Reverend Al Taylor, and State Senator Cordell Clear. And
Mhm.
that pretty much encompasses a majority of a district. I don't see, and I think we've got to get them involved, though it's a city issue. But our Congressman Espaillat needs to get in on this,
Mhm.
as well as our our senators,
Mhm.
Schumer and
You're
Gillibrand.
right. And
You know
we
what I'm
will
saying?
share that with them as well
Yeah,
too.
yeah. They have to get involved, because especially with what is going on, on the federal level with DC and all of these things happening, where does federal and city meet? But the
Mhm.
accountability is critical. And we've got to deal with this, because, like you said, it was dealt with in 2021, and we're thinking, oh, we handled this. There
Mhm.
is some legislation in place, but as they say, is there legislation, and does it have teeth?
Mhm.
And our
Yeah.
communities are the sufferers because of economic disparities, and
Mhm.
also because of comorbidities, which, due to economic disparities, we may have
Yes.
more health issues, and it
Yes.
will impact young people or older people or people that are of poor health quality. And it's
Mhm.
in the air, even if you walk by these buildings. And
Yes.
from what I understand, a mask is not going to help you. And also, which is not really being looked into, and it may be a minor way that it is transmitted, but it can come through your shower and the hot and cold water. If you
Mhm.
read the report, it says that.
Yes.
So we've got to protect ourselves. So, Marquise, please share other initiatives, what's happening, what people can do, how they can engage themselves with the community board, because right now it's about accountability and taking stands for our community. Thank you.
Yes, so just to be clear, September 3rd, we're back in action at the Community Board General Board meeting, which will be at 6 o'clock. Community Board will be convening. Um, we certainly will have representatives from the health department, but we are also hoping to have the acting commissioner there. We're going to ask some questions. We want some answers. We're certainly trying to have more educational forums as well, where if the most important thing that our community needs to know that if you feel sick, get checked out immediately.
Yes,
This,
thank
this,
you for
this,
saying that.
this, yes, this disease, whether it's a cough or, it had flu-like symptoms, get checked out, make sure
Mhm.
you're in good health because when treated, usually, most people survive and do pretty well.
Right,
Fortunately, though, people don't always take those symptoms serious and they don't think, it's just a little cough, right? And you never know how that's going to impact your immune system and how your body might deal with it, especially if you have other conditions that are on top of that, as well as we have to be very mindful of our elderly, so that we take care of them. So that's really what's most important. I think what our community must do is look out for each other, look out for our neighbors, because certainly someone hasn't been looking out for us, and so we have to make sure we take care of each other. The other thing is encourage everyone to come to our committee meetings. We're going to be probably dealing with this in every committee, and our government and budget committee, our health and human service committee, our public safety committee. This is going to be a topic that we're not going to let die because we're working with our state senator who is pushing legislation now too for the
okay,
state. We've got to make sure that this does not, this can't be swept under the table because
no,
now 6 lives have been lost. And that's to me, when I think about just the first briefing about this, again, I keep reflecting. I really thought it was, kind of a little exposure and they've got it under control. And then we have 6 deaths. And so it's really
right,
heartbreaking. And again, I keep thinking about those families who didn't know, who couldn't deal with anything. And, to lose someone, it's just not, it takes me back to the pandemic when, we were losing our neighbors. And I just, it's devastating. And I'm just hope that we can continue as a community to put the pressure on our public officials. We also,
yes,
the mayoral race. So we got to
yes.
ask the candidates, what are they going to do to make sure this doesn't happen? And so that's something I'm going to be sending a letter to all the candidates because we need a
Thank you.
response.
Extremely important,
Yeah.
because as we know, Mayor Adams is the sitting mayor, so he's sitting on top of it. He has been addressing it,
Hmm.
and maybe 10 days ago, he was like, don't panic. And, that may be based on the reports that
Hmm.
was getting, because that's what the health department was saying.
Yeah.
However, it's pushing the panic button time. We
Hmm.
got, and when I say panic, it's not about fear. It's
Yeah,
about
I
action.
understand.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's about action. It's about taking action. It's about spreading the word and
Yep.
making sure that even on a national level, people know that this is happening. There may
Hmm.
be some people, and this is where media, like a Harlem Network News and all of the media, this is
Hmm.
where it's important. This is front and center, because
Yeah.
otherwise there will be people in the community that did not get that message. I was just on WBAI. Thank you,
Yeah.
Isaac Ferguson, this morning at 7. I believe it'll repeat again at 12. And it was all about the Legionnaires situation. And
Hmm.
we were hoping to have our councilman, Dr. Youssef Salam, on. He wasn't able to, but his staff did answer our questions. We read the questions, but there was a caller and she was irate. She was like, well, where is he? And also, she was like, there was a town meeting. He had a town meeting, but I didn't know. So these
Hmm.
are some of the logistics. Like, we got to know what's out there, and then we got to go. If there's
Yeah.
a community board meeting, we
Hmm.
need to know about it. We need to be there. If there's a town meeting, we need to know about it. We need to be there. And all
Yeah.
of the mayoral candidates, I mean, Mayor Adams is here. He is present. He is a sitting mayor. But all the other candidates, all eyes on Harlem. Like, we
Yeah.
matter. You need to come. You need to talk to us. If you want our vote, you know, it's
Yep.
about dealing with us. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that is part
100%.
of the problem that happens in this community. which unfortunately we are, through gentrification is basically Black and brown people, of, middle, lower
Yeah.
income, some no income. So we're getting rolled over, and
Yeah.
that has to stop. And it's
Absolutely.
terrible that something like this is happening, but the blessing of it is that people are starting to be called to action, to do
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Your vote matters. And then once you vote for somebody, let's hold everybody accountable.
Accountable. Yeah.
Okay. They got to be
Absolutely.
front and center.
Hmm.
They work for us,
Absolutely.
and we're working with them. We can't sit back and say, oh, they're not doing anything. Well, we got to do something too.
Yeah.
So that's my rant.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but thank you again for what you're doing and helping spread this information, and sharing with our community the importance of just being aware of what's happening around us.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very critical. And I'm Terry Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News. You can reach out to us directly with any questions, information, shows you want to come on. We're at 646-261 5397, Harlem Network News at gmail.com. You can find us on all social medias. If you're of that age and time, DM us. We'll hit you back. Go to TikTok, go to everything. But it's about getting the word out,
Hmm.
because we're under siege, protecting ourselves, and then evolving. Evolving. The March on Wall Street is happening on Thursday, right
Hmm.
here in New York, with Reverend Al Sharpton, and the NAN community. That begins at 10 o'clock right there at the African burial ground.
Hmm.
How befitting. And there's also a lawsuit that's out that
Yeah.
Reverend Al Sharpton and uh,
Ben Crump.
Attorney Ben Crump have taken out. And it's small, because it's not small, it's small but big, but it's two construction workers who
Mhm.
literally worked at Harlem Hospital. They contracted it. So we got to look where the lawsuits, where's the class action suit for Harlem? Where's the
Mhm.
lawsuits for the people that lost their lives or in the hospital? And this thing has long-term effects. I read an article, a mother and a son have it. She's in her 50s, he's in his 30s, and she's now walking with a cane and having brain fog, as a result of this. And he's having to learn how to walk again. So it can have the lasting, long Legionnaires results. So
Mhm.
this is very, very serious, especially as school is beginning to start.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you,
Thank
Marquise,
you.
for coming on. I know we're
Absolutely.
crunching time.
No.
Uh,
Okay.
it is so much going on, but I
Mhm.
appreciate you really knowing that the people need to hear from you.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
tell
you.
them again where the community board meeting is, and the
Hmm.
fact that the acting commissioner is going to be there prayerfully. She's hearing this and she knows she got to come. And she's
Yeah.
in a position because, like you said, she just had to jump into it, but we're all having to jump into it and save
Yeah.
lives. So,
And we again, so the community board, we're at 215 West 125th Street. And you can contact us. Our phone number at our office is 212-749-3105. So if you have any concerns, complaints, problems, not just in regards to this, but anything, please contact us. And our general email is mn10cb I'm sorry, at cb.nyc.gov. Again,
oh,
that's mn10cb at cb.nyc.gov. And that's our email. Please contact. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, so you can find us, CB10, Manhattan CB10. We're out there. And again, we want to continue to make sure we're there serving the community, because the community board is nothing without community.
okay. And that meeting is Wednesday. It's every
Wednesday, September
first
3rd at
Wednesday.
6 o'clock, and it'll be at Toro College next Wednesday.
Okay. Okay. That's
Okay.
right on 124.
Yes. Hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So forward ever, backward never. So goes Harlem. So goes
Absolutely.
the world. And this is Terry Wisdom, Harlem Network News, and we really appreciate you coming on, Marquise. It
Oh, thank you.
lot.
Thank you again
It
for
says
everything
a
you
lot.
do.
Yeah.
Thank
Let's
you.
let's go. So thank
Okay.
you. Have
All
a
right.
great.
Take care.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye. Thank you.